Hi, welcome back to Not Your Mother's Hobbies. And you guys have done it again. I feel so blessed by your attention. Um, I don't know what to say. It's happening so fast. You guys blew it out of the water. We got another subscriber milestone, and we're gonna paint this little guy. I'm gonna paint him a little different than what we have down here, but I'm just gonna paint this. And that's it. We're just gonna talk. I don't think anybody has this, and if you do, hey, whatever. I know it's not a normal miniature. I know it's kind of like a figure, or even kind of like an action figure, a statue. But it's a special. Let's just do what we want, chill out, and have some fun. You can see I did a grainy, gritty rattle can zenithal. Um, wasn't too happy with it. I went over it with a airbrush white to kind of clean it up. The base he's on is a 3D printed base, just FDM printed. A buddy of mine made it for me, so I printed that out quite a while ago. Now I have a use for it, you know. So today, what are we gonna talk about? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna chill out about with? Uh, I think the message is you can paint anything, and that's really what I want to talk about. Is it doesn't have to be like the coolest, most expensive miniature. It doesn't have to be some Games Workshop rarity, or Forge World, or even a board game or anything, right? It could be an action figure. It could be a dollar store like army men. That's actually something I tell my friends who want to get into miniature painting and they don't know where to start. I say, go to Walmart, go to the toy section, go see what little dudes they have. Sometimes there's those little blind bag things, right? That are like I've seen some Marvel superhero ones or whatever. You can go to um, even like the flea market or something and just keep an eye out for like a little guy. You don't even have to paint little. It could be like this guy, right? You could paint larger and just get used to controlling the brush in your hand, right? Um, and I think that that's just really important. Is starting above all is just doing something. You don't have to have the craziest materials, the craziest supplies, the most expensive top of the line this, that, or the other. You know, you can have used toys, you can have dollar store stuff, you can have craft paint. It really doesn't matter. It's about starting. It's about just trying and not being afraid to fail, or afraid to even begin, right? If you, especially if you're using like an old toy, or this is a gotcha, right? From Japan. It's my uncle-in-law gave it to me. We bonded over our mutual like of Sentai and Kamen Rider, and he just you know came over a couple days later and dumped a couple gotcha in my lap and was like, "Here you go, buddy. You know, check these out. It's a whole collection of this run." Um, and that's all it was. You know, and I decided I wanted to do something with it more than just have them as like a standy collectible, right? I don't really do much with gotcha. I'm not a big gotcha collector, but suddenly I had all of these common writers, and I wanted to do something special for him, as well as special to make use of them. And roundabout, here we are. And I hope that that message comes across of like, just use what you got. Start somewhere. It could be anything that you're painting. You know, aside from figures and miniatures and stuff, the dollar store also has some pretty nifty little painting kits and stuff for holiday ornaments, or bird feeder things, or all kinds of like little wooden knickknacks, paddywhacks. Give your dog a bone, whatever you want. There's just like tons of stuff. Just put some paint on it, just start to have fun. Oh, so here actually I'm using Pterodon. Wait, is it Pterodon turquoise? Yeah, Pterodon turquoise. I'm thinly glazing it on. I build it up over a couple layers. Sidetrack from the story, the moral. But hey, I'm doing something different in the video than the usual bread and butter. I figure I might as well say. So yeah, it's a couple glazed, thin down layers. Pterodon turquoise is like really opaque. It's got a lot of pigment to it, so I thinned it real down. That's about it. But yeah, I think Eons of Battle. If I'll try to remember to link the video if I can find it. I'll link to his channel, regardless. But if I can find the specific video, he paints with craft paint for a video to see like, hey, is craft paint just freaky deaky garbage? Can we just not use this? Is this not worth anything for our hobby? Long and short of it, yeah, you can use craft paint for frickin' painting. Like Goobertown Hobbies did it for some Fart Quest miniatures that he printed off. I'll put link in the description for Goobertown Hobbies as well. Awesome channel, check it out. Super chill dude, love Brent. Yeah, so like those are perfect examples and great guides for entry level that show you really don't have to worry. If you're worried, you can literally pick up a stick, mash it in a big bucket, and start painting. Some of you with keen eyes might notice the equipment that I use. I use the same old grubby frickin' brushes over and over and over and over again. And sometimes that's to my detriment and I have to clean up and repaint things. But it's what I'm comfortable with. I like the brush I'm using and I get attached to it and I don't want to pop out a new one, it's too much effort, or like, ooh, I got this one's crooked tip. I just figured out how to use it to the maximum. Like I'm so well, I've mastered it, right? I'm so well versed in it. I've mastered this crooked, frayed garbage brush. I don't want to give it up now, right? Start from scratch and have to master another brush as it frays and turns into garbage. But I'm sure some of you guys have noticed the equipment that I'm using is not always like the coolest or the best or whatever. I don't even thin my paints half the time. I'm lazy. I'm not comfortable with a wet palette. I don't like mixing colors unless I have to. That doesn't mean that I buy all my paints. No, I have a huge set of watercolors that I managed to get on sale when I first started painting. I got this crazy big set. It was an insane deal. Holy crap! They were having like a huge sale. So half the time I don't even have to mix paints because I can just grab what I want. And the way that I paint, I don't always care for smooth blends, right? Sometimes, like you guys might have noticed on the Trunks, the Super Saiyan Trunks video, right? Like sometimes it's better to have that real eye-catching distinction between the layers, right? And so that kind of goes with a lot of my painting anyway, regardless, is I like that, punchy, poppy contrast. I really want to be able to see it sometimes. That's not to say every time, but sometimes. And so my not thinning down or my vast collection of, I pick up this one paint because it's exactly what I need. It just goes to how I paint. It just adds to how I do things. And you'll find your own way to do things, right? Not everybody's going to have uh, the background that I have or the background that, you know, one Hidalgo has. Like, nobody's gonna have that, you know, popping out of the belly and crawling around on the ground as a little baby man. You don't just have that. You got to start somewhere and craft paint, used paint, gifted paint, box sets from the army painter or what have you. That's all going to start you somewhere. So let's take a little breather from that, I guess. And let's talk about where we can get cheap miniatures, like a decent collection if you want miniatures, right? Something to paint. Um, Obvious choice, board games. I paint a lot of board games. Um, if you want to get a lot of minis fast for pretty inexpensive, board games. And I'm not talking like the Dungeons and Dragons board game or I don't know, like Zombicide or whatever, although those are great options. They tend to be a little more expensive unless you're going to get them used, which would then be a second point. You know, you want these more expensive ones, check for them used. But I'm talking like um, some of these older board games like have a little guy in them, like that hard plastic that's gonna snap, like a children's board game. Dude, there's a volcano one, right, with the marble that rolls down the the hill and whatever, right? Like those have little figures in them. That's not an expensive game, right? Um, if you have children, that might even be a game that you already have, or would be a good gift for your kids, right? Well, hey, guess what? Now you have this little, you know, mom and pops. We got our own little secret sauce over here. You know, we got our dual incentive for buying this. Is I want to paint this. So think of that. Board games. The dollar store. Gotta keep saying it. Bears repeating. It's super cheap and inexpensive. Um, Even a toy store, those blind boxes, they're gonna cost you a little more, but like they have a lot of little guys. Army men. A bag of army men is like what, $3 or something like that. You get 25 guys that you can experiment with, and now it's not just army men. You can get like these buckets. I think at like Walmart or Toys R Us or hell, look on Amazon. You can get these like buckets of fantasy miniatures or space miniatures. So, oh, you want to paint Space Marines? Get the space bucket, right? Now you have these little spacemen. Well, try to paint them like a Space Marine. I know they're not going to look like a Space Marine. They're going to look like a little spaceman. But, I hope that in some of my other videos I've shown you, like, you can paint the detail. You can paint what you want, right? And in this case, when it's introductory, it's literally just painting is what you want to do, right? So does it really matter that it's not a blue Space Marine or whatever Space Marine? Like, does it really matter that it's not accurate? Because you're just building the skills. And so if you're painting an Ultramarine Space Marine, you're going to paint that blue. Well, why not just practice painting blue, right? And it's going to be sci-fi themed, right? 40K's sci-fi. Well, why not have something that's sci-fi, right? That will have little metal bits and bobs and buttons and other things on it that you can practice on. Same thing with, there's a fantasy bucket. It's probably the same company, right? That's doing it. You want to paint wizards? Well, there's a whole bunch of wizards in there, right? You want to paint the knight? Well, there's a knight. This sculpt might not be the best, but it's something that's thematic and will get you the materials that you're going to be painting the most often based on your interest. So I think those are some good entry points. And I know it might be rambly or, I'm repeating myself a little bit, but it's really to hammer in home that anybody can do it. You can do it. Just start, right? These are gateways. So just one more point on where to get miniatures, and if we're talking about used miniatures, right? Used board games. Well, Where are you going to go to get used stuff? Are you just going to look on Craigslist and look for the deal? Yeah, sure. That's one option. But who knows how long it's going to take? It's fish in a barrel, right? Like you never know what you're going to get. It's like picking the lottery, finding that great deal on eBay or whatever. Go down to, your Goodwill, your Sally Ann, go to the flea market, go to a garage sale even, right? Like those are more frequent, and yeah, it's all going to be kind of a lottery of won't you find what you're looking for, or won't you find a miniature at all. But one, gets you outside touching grass. Two, it's like a fun adventure, and it's going to be cheap. It's going to be super mega ultra cheap, because half the time, here's the secret, people don't know what they have. Ha 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 ha. You might get some legit rare oddities. That's actually one of my favorite miniatures, is a little, I don't know, wizard man. He's a little metal wizard. I don't know what set he's from. I think he's got initials on the bottom, but he's glued to a base. I'll never know. He's some hokey looking little claymation wizard, some pewter guy from the 80s or something, and he just fell out of a box when I worked at a company that had it was a big warehousing company that we sorted stuff. And he just fell out of a box. They were donating books, or we were sorting books for sale, and someone threw that in there. We got all kinds of crazy garbage. Well, one day I got one of my most favorite miniatures, this little hokey claymation style wizard guy that someone made in the 80s. Nuts. But like, you never know when you're gonna find it. So used, always good. As for paints, well, craft paint, man. Just get some craft paint. If it's good enough for, the old biddies at the ceramics shop, all the moms and nans and grandmas working at the ceramics shop. By the way, ceramics is fun. I did it when I was a kid. I'm just trying to be funny. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for us, right? Is it going to be trickier to use? Yeah, it is. It's a little chalkier. It's harder to thin. But you know what? It's something to start with, right? It's something to get you used to controlling a brush. So craft paint, that's what I would go for. And you know what? There's different calibers of craft paint. There is. Just like there's different calibers of paint in general. So maybe the stuff at Michael's is a bit better than the stuff at the dollar store, vice versa. You might find some diamonds in the rough, but that's what you can do. Literally, just go get some craft paint and start. And we are in the golden age, probably, of miniature painting. There's so many cool new ways to paint and get into the hobby. It's insane. And one of those is paint packs, right? Army Painter has them, like the beginner paint packs. Yo, check this out. Sidetrack, we're getting back to the model. Look at this. I'm doing dots in the eyes to look like the cool LED lights that he's got in there. And then we're just glazing on some volupus pink. It's not going to take away from the red, and it's just going to tint those little lights or those little dots, right? And I don't show it, but you're going to see it. I go in with some craft paint, crappy craft paint. There's the craft paint again. Even I'm using it. Crappy craft paint white. And I highlight some of the top little lights to make them really, really bright. I hope my ramble, we're at the end. We're already at the end. That seemed like nothing. It went by so fast. Just like all the subscribers coming up. This video was so fast. I hope it was fun. I hope it was informative on a different level than painting technique. I hope it was informative. I hope you liked watching this one too. Like, to see that you really can just paint anything, you really can just do this and paint something cool. I hope you really dug it. I'm digging doing this. I'm having so much fun. I'm having fun talking about guys that I like painting, tricks I've taken from them, sharing those with you, sharing them with you, and this whole ride's been awesome. So just Stick with me if you want. Like, subscribe. Tell me what you want to see. Tell me what you're liking, what you're not liking, what you're missing out on. Hey, let me know if you like these subscriber specials. I got a whole bunch of interesting things, interesting to me, and I hope that they're interesting to you guys too. But I got a whole bunch of, fun ideas for what's to come. We're trucking, we're rolling on Hero Quest. I got plans for other projects after. The backlog is insane. You know what I mean. We all got one. So we're not stopping anytime soon. I hope you'll come join me and keep on going. And until then, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.